Hello and welcome to the 2020 NATS virtual conference poster sessions. This is phase one, where you will get to hear all of our poster presenters give a 5-minute talk on their poster research. We've got a great lineup of cutting edge and up and coming and really exciting projects that have been done throughout the last years that are really an exceptional contribution to the conference. And now we need your help. We would like to put out a call for questions so that for phase two of the poster sessions, we could do a live Q&A that we'll record prior to the conference and drop each day of the conference. And so we are asking you, NATS membership, that if you have a question regarding any of these posters, if you would send it to me, Dr. Nicholas Perna, at nkperna@mc.edu, I will take those questions and ask them of our poster presenters during our Q&A session. I would like to have those questions by Friday, June the 12th. So we're excited. We're excited to have this opportunity to share this research with you guys. Please, if you have a chance, check out all 3 poster sessions. If you have a few questions that you'd like to ask the authors, send them to me, and I will get them out to everyone in the session. Thank you so much for your time and your efforts. I look forward to seeing everyone at the virtual conference later in June.
Hi, my name is Greg Brookes. I'm a member of the NATS Advocacy Committee, and this is my presentation entitled NATS Advocacy Initiatives. The NATS Advocacy Committee was formed 2 years ago, just after the 55th National Conference, and was charged by President Karen Brunson to do the following. The Advocacy Committee shall work in the best interests of NATS for means and information about advocacy that encourages music and singing in education, advocacy that encourages diversity in our NATS activities and in the larger musical singing community, advocacy that encourages support of the arts, including music and singing by government, businesses, and communities, advocacy that encourages inclusion in our NATS activities and the larger musical singing community. To that end, the committee instituted a diversity spotlight section on the NATS website that brings attention to a more diverse repertoire. In addition to the diversity spotlights, we started our first repertoire initiative, Advancing Music by Women Composers. Our next repertoire initiative will feature Spanish language songs. Another important project that has been undertaken by NATS leadership and reviewed by the Advocacy Committee is the development of a NATS Diversity and Inclusion Toolkit. The toolkit contains the NATS Diversity and Inclusion Statement, which reads, NATS strives to be a welcoming and supportive community of members and students who celebrate the unique identities, varied backgrounds, and experiences of all individuals. We are dedicated to ensuring that all voices are valued and heard in an inclusive environment with equitable treatment for all. The toolkit also provides a definition of diversity, inclusion, and equity. Diversity is the presence of difference. Diversity can refer to people of various races, genders, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, religions, ethnicity, national origins, and mental or physical abilities. When applied to NATS, defining diversity should also include diversity of ideas and cultural diversity. At the core of inclusion is diversity. Inclusion means that all members feel as if they genuinely belong, that they are valued and relied upon, empowered, and ultimately matter. Like diversity, inclusion is an outcome and often the actual experience of NATS membership, an experience that holds real potential or implications of equity. Equity is the norms, fundamentals, and policies in place that ensure everyone has access to the same opportunities. Belonging is the desired outcome of successfully ensuring that all voices are valued and heard in an inclusive environment with equitable treatment for all. Advocacy, however, is more than just promoting diverse repertoire and encouraging diversity, inclusion, and equity for our members and students. We must look inward as an organization to better understand the barriers to diversity. What are the issues of privilege that stop children from lower socioeconomic backgrounds from accessing a vocal education? Are we making assumptions about the supremacy of our art form that close off others from engaging in that art? This poster presentation was to have been an opportunity for the Advocacy Committee to meet and engage with NATS members about advocacy within our organization. With the shift to a virtual conference, we hope that you will nevertheless engage with us by asking questions and sending comments to the committee. We want to know what your experiences are. What have been your issues with belonging in NATS? How can NATS do better? As we move through this journey of inclusivity towards belonging, I am genuinely excited for the opportunities that await us. Thank you, and I can't wait to see all of you live in person in the very near future.
Hello and welcome, NATS attendees 2020, to my virtual presentation of my dissertation project and my poster, which is entitled The Way That They Sing, Dynamic Facial Expressions and Audience Impressions in Vocal Performances. My name is Zach Carr. I am a clinical assistant professor at the University of Buffalo, and I specialize academically in nonverbal communication, specifically facial expressions and body language. On the other hand, I'm also a vocal coach, and I run an independent voice studio in North Tonawanda, New York, which is outside Buffalo. We have about 160 vocal students there. And this dissertation is one of the most exciting projects in my life because it merged my two worlds. Obviously, I like to instruct my students on proper vocal execution, vocal health, but one huge component of this, a major aspect, is how they connect with their piece and how they navigate that and convey that to audiences. And I was interested in what does the literature say about this, particularly in vocal performances. And when we run a study, what do the audience members tell us that's going on here? And so my study it was a two-part study, exploratory in nature, because after looking through the literature, I saw a lot on actors, especially actors who utilize the Stanislavski acting method. There was some work done on how convincing they are and their ability to pose facial expressions and things of that nature. But I didn't see anything particularly about the use of facial expressions throughout a vocal performance and how that influences audience perceptions. There's a lot of that in dance. There's this beginning work. There's a lot on vocal expressivity in terms of paralinguistic cues, but there's not much on this particular avenue. And I thought, wow, this is a great thing for me to jump into. And so this is exploratory in nature and is a two-part study looking at the rate in which vocal performers produce what we are calling genuine facial expressions, and there are particular markers that I use to delineate what was a genuine facial expression, and how those expressions influenced audience impressions in the second study. We also looked at channel preferences. So this was conducted online in the sense that audience members watched YouTube videos of the performers online, and the clips were manipulated so that in one condition they only heard the audio, in another they only saw the face, and in another they saw both. And amidst all of this, I'm really interested in, is there something else going on besides technical execution? Anecdotally, we know there is, right? We know that, right? Those of us that evaluate singers, casting producers will tell you this, and judges in vocal competitions will tell you this. Authenticity. How believable are you? These things obviously impact perceptions during a performance. But there's not a lot of literature or data on this, right? And in particular, how far does this influence go, right? And now, amidst Corona, we may be turning to online mediums as our primary method of conveying vocal performances for some time. And so I think, even though I did this study pre-Corona, I think fortuitously it really yields us up to some interesting ideas as we move forward. So what do we find? Well, indeed, there seems to be something more than just technical execution alone. Obviously, there has to be some threshold in which the singer needs to sound quote-unquote good, right? Proper pitch matching, being able to navigate mix, belt registers, genre, crossover training. All those things matter. But what we found in particular is that the highest ratings of performer talent occurred in both the face and audio conditions, so where both were present, right? But also when they had the highest rate of genuine facial expression production. So I manipulated the conditions as well. So I showed them a face audio performance of a person who had less GFE production than a face audio condition performer who had more, right? And what we found is that the performer talent, so the question was, how talented is this performer, generally speaking? This produced the highest ratings of performer talent with the highest rate of the GFE production. Now, vocal execution-wise, they're about the same, so that's interesting. Observers were most immersed, though, in the audio-only condition, but then reported highest levels of authenticity and emotional expressivity in the face-only condition. That means no audio was present. So there's this really interesting interaction effect that's occurring between the channel availability, right, and the presence of the GFE production. Now, for future directions, I would love to take this in a further step. I'd like to test this out in a live performance venue. I'd look at different populations, those that are well versed in voice, different genres of music, and I'd really love to continue to parse out what leads to higher ratings of talent. I'd be remiss if I did not thank my co-authors. There's obviously a lot more in this study that I can unpack, and I'd love to hear any questions that you might have. Again, thank you to my co-authors, and thank you to NATS for continuing to give us a chance to connect virtually amidst these chaotic times. Thank you all so much for listening.
Hello, everyone out there in virtual NATS land. I hope you're well and your sourdough starters are thriving. I'm Chip Dugan. This poster is a report on my doctoral research, which was a survey of speech pathologists regarding laryngeal massage on singers. The survey was launched in November of 2019 at the American Speech Language Hearing Association's National Conference in Orlando, at a special meeting for Voice Disorders Special Interest Group. I sent out over 1,000 invitations to participate in the survey, but for responses to be valid, respondents needed to be speech pathologists who work with singers and use laryngeal massage as a part of their practice, which is a pretty select group. So it filtered down to 97 usable responses. For the unfamiliar, you may be asking, what is laryngeal massage? It's a manual therapy that speech pathologists and sometimes physical therapists and medical doctors use that is intended to address muscle tension dysphonia, which is when muscular tension around the voice box inhibits healthy vocal function. And this can affect both singing and speaking. At this point, you might also be asking, will this poster teach me how to do laryngeal massage? And the answer to that is no. And without training, I don't recommend that you attempt laryngeal massage on yourself or others because there are some risks, which may include lightheadedness or fainting. But I'm going to tell you the truth, even though it might sound a little controversial. It's your neck. You can touch it any way you like. So my survey asked 16 questions, which is too much to cover in this presentation. But if you're interested, here's a link to the published document, which has a comprehensive review of massage practices, research that has been done on massage and the voice, and also a large appendix on how massage is thought to work in a general sense. One of the things that I want to mention before I give away all my secrets from my research is that the number of respondents is large enough to represent the current methods and practices of speech therapists who work with singers nationwide, and the survey has opinions from thought leaders in the field. So here we go. Most speech pathologists learn laryngeal massage from in-person workshops, more so than those who learned it in a university setting. It's also interesting because it points to how laryngeal massage can be effectively taught. Therapists are also using massage beyond just the alleviation of muscular tension, but also for several off-label uses, so to speak, which includes helping singers to warm up, to optimize their vocal range, to increase bodily awareness during singing, and to facilitate singing technique. There are fewer than a handful of studies that address the use of laryngeal massage for non-disordered voices, but I will direct you to the research conducted by our own Nick Perna and his colleagues at Mississippi College. Just a few metrics here. Therapists administered laryngeal massage for 5 to 10 minutes on patients who were singers and spent a similar amount of time, 1 to 10 minutes, educating singers on how to self-administer laryngeal massage. Now, to dissect that a little bit, unfortunately, the survey wasn't able to distinguish if that was the ideal amount of time to administer and educate or if there were some other mitigating factors. What I'm excited to say about the finding is this. Firstly, there doesn't seem to be a gold standard or a true consensus for the style or technique that speech therapists are using when administering laryngeal massage on singers. I hypothesize that this may have to do with the fact that the therapy was not originally developed exclusively for singers, and because singers use the voice more athletically, the approach of massage may need to be altered. Overall, this points to the need for more research on laryngeal massage in singers. Finally, the majority of massage therapists surveyed said that they recommended that singers include laryngeal self-massage as a part of their self-care routine. That is, if they are trained to do it and they follow common sense safeguards. There you have it, folks. It's not just my opinion, it's the results of a nationwide survey of speech pathologists regarding laryngeal massage. Thank you so much. I'm Chip Dugan.
Hi, this is Margaret Kennedy-Dygas from The Ohio University and Lori Lashbrook from the University of Akron. Our research project has been the effect of tongue position training on the second formant tuning in young adult female singers. We've been interested in finding out if training tongue position to target the second formant as opposed to the first formant improves young adult female singers' resonance dramatically. We recruited female singers ages 18 to 24 and split them into 2 groups, a control group and an experimental group, and we had 1 research assistant for each group. We used a carrier song by Stephen Foster that contained some vowels and pitches of interest to us, and we would have each student come in 1 at a time. We would do a pre-recording of that song, a 30-minute training session, and then a post-recording. And then after the recordings were completed, an analysis of those notes and vowels of interest using Voce Vista Video Pro. The training protocols between the 2 groups were identical except for the vowels being used. So the control group used vowels that really had more effect on the first formant, like ah, and the experimental group used vowels that really made a big difference with the second formant, such as the high close vowels, e and u. We used research-grade recording equipment, including a microphone and preamp and a USB conditioner purchased from the Modal Shop in Cincinnati, Ohio. We placed the microphone about 15 centimeters from the students' lips and had them stand on a stadiometer to try to stabilize their physical position and posture during the recording session. Now I will turn this over to Lori Lashbrook.
My role was to develop the protocol and train the research assistants. The song selected for the research was the first verse of Stephen Foster's Jeannie with the Light Brown Hair. And prior to the work session, the volunteers were sent a copy of the music in the appropriate key for the singer. The key correlated to their voice part in choir. There were 3 keys that we chose from. The teaching protocol, in addition, we sent them a piano recording in each of the keys appropriate to their part in choir. and a flyer about the project with a link to a YouTube recording sung by a tenor in a different key. The teaching protocol included the recording of Jeannie with the light brown hair, singing on text. Then the students met with the teaching assistant and for the 30 minutes. After about 10 minutes of vocal warm-up on straw phonation techniques, sirens, descending pentatonic scales, buzzing, triplet pattern scales, and onset and releases exercises, the work centered around 3 other sections, 3 to 5 minutes of the teaching assistant working on tricky spots of the song, with the student on vowels appropriate to the group. So if the singer was in the control group, they sang on ah. If it was the experimental group, they sang on e, a, and oo. A next section was the song was rehearsed only on vowels. Again, the control group on ah, and the experimental group on E, A, and U. The third section was the song being rehearsed on the text. Often the teaching assistants would jump back to the exercises that worked in warm-ups during the work on the song to assist the students. Each group, the students had access to a mirror to assist the singer with monitoring the jaw and the tongue. There was a handout of tongue position of vowels, and it was available but used only by the experimental group. There was also a list of prompts. It was developed, and these were used during the lessons. At the conclusion of the teaching session, the student was recorded singing the first verse on text of Jeannie with the light brown hair. Our research looked very positive for supporting the control of tuning the second formant, emphasizing the high tongue vowels in the female singer. We thank you for listening to our presentation, and we hope you have found this information to be helpful in your teaching. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carol Mikkelsen, coordinator of the Art Song Composition Award Program. My poster paper is a recorded recital of songs sung by college students, along with some brief program notes. The songs from the first place winning works of the ASCA competitions, years 2008 through 2018, were carefully chosen for these particular student singers. The recital is in the attached file. It is produced by students and their pianist. The goals of this project have been to show that students can successfully sing the musically and artistically challenging works of the ASCA competitions, and to help disseminate the wonderful song literature promoted by this program. An exciting part of this conference is that 2 brand new works will be presented. Tom Chiapullo's 2008 winning work, Of a Certain Age, tells of a woman's look back at her richly lived life. The 6 songs of the set vary greatly in mood, style, etc., so provide sopranos any number of extracted songs from the set. On this recital is the opening youthful song, Magnolia, and the more complex but humorous song, Fugitive. The set requires a soprano with a good sense of rhythm and a healthy range. David Sisko's 2010 song set, Missed Connections, offers students an approachable and enjoyable set of songs. The 11 brief texts are from the Missed Connections space of Craigslist. Although written for mezzo-soprano, the songs can be sung by any voice type and any gender, as long as the range and style suit the student. Singing 3 of the shorter songs of the group is a junior mezzo-soprano. The 2012 winning work of Melissa Dunphy is titled Tesla's Pigeon. It is about the scientist Nikola Tesla's love of a white pigeon, which is told through a collage of poems and writings from various sources. Dunphy's haunting music is somewhat difficult to learn at the onset, but becomes quickly absorbed. Singing numbers 4 and 5 of the 6-movement work for soprano and piano is a sophomore oboe and voice major. In these 2 songs, we hear the words of Goethe and Shakespeare, but from the perspective of the pigeon. 2014 was the 50th anniversary of the civil rights movement known as Freedom Summer. In recognition of the anniversary, Robert G. Patterson of Memphis, Tennessee, set a group of Langston Hughes poems titled American Pierrot, a Langston Hughes Songbook. The set, in two parts, Pierrot's Estate in Pierrot's Heart, incorporates idiomatic local musical styles of Memphis. Although designated for baritone, chosen songs are perfectly suitable for female singers. The ability to sing these songs with textual, simpatico, and good style is the overriding qualifier. A graduate student, a mezzo-soprano, will be singing the first and last songs of the set, Words Like Freedom and Life is Fine. The 2016 winning work is a set of 4 songs for high voice titled American Death Ballads. Composer David Conte groups 4 anonymous ballads about notorious characters of colonial America. Each song is broad in scope, requiring the more mature college-level voice. A senior soprano will be singing Pretty Polly. The winning work in 2017 is Four Square Cathedral by singer-composer Matt Bowler. It is for bass baritone and piano. The style of the text, described as pared down, muscular, and fun, is captured in kind by Bowler's music. The singer of these songs must not only be a solid musician, but possess a sense of drama inherent in each song. Singing the final song of the group, Another Hand, is a senior baritone. The 2018 winning song set by Benjamin Boyle is Spirits in Bondage, the title of which is that of the poet's cycle of lyrics, Spirits in Bondage. In the 7 songs of the set, Boyle wonderfully paints the pictures in sound which are described in words of C.S. Lewis. From this work for baritone and piano, we hear the lyrical and exquisite song, Night.
A new phonetic system is available for students who read Braille. Designated symbols, mutually accessible by both the sighted and the blind, represent the singing sounds of 6 languages. Keying phonetic symbols is awkward for both the sighted and the blind. This new system is shared and easy to access. So why are phonetic symbols difficult to access? It is because IPA symbols do not automatically convert to Braille. Each symbol must be assigned a unique Braille character. The International Council on English Braille released IPA Braille in 2008. The system is thorough. Every speech sound identified by the International Phonetic Association has a corresponding Braille character. Unfortunately, the system has limitations. First, it is difficult to memorize due to the number of unique Braille characters needed to represent all speech sounds in all languages. Second, many symbols do not resemble the original spellings of words. Third, lyric diction resources transcribed according to the system are non-existent. And fourth, it does not accommodate the exchange of phonetic material between the sighted and the blind. In other words, the sighted would have to learn to read Braille in order to use the system. Fortunately, advances in technology facilitate a new approach to phonetic transcription for those who read Braille. A refreshable Braille display converts digital content to Braille. This device gives teachers and students the ability to communicate using the same phonetic alphabet. Steve Norman, Braille instructor at the Tennessee Rehabilitation Center, was instrumental in testing the system. He is reading digital content sent to his phone through a refreshable Braille display. Resources that use the system include 3 Kindle books, a chart with tactile and visual symbols, and a database of more than 2,000 English, Italian, Latin, German, and French lyrics transcribed according to the new system. The Kindle books are 99 cents. The remaining resources are free. The system has multiple uses. It could increase Braille literacy, provide access to phonetics for blind children learning to read, and assist speech therapists who work with blind patients. If adequately promoted, the system would radically change the way individuals with visual impairments are taught. Follow the QR code for an interactive presentation of this poster.
Hello, my name is Debbie Popham, and today I am sharing my research on More Than Tessitura, Quantifying the Contour of a Melody. I am very interested in developmental repertoire and in finding the most suitable songs to facilitate technical growth in my students. As I was thinking about this, I began to wonder if there might be a more systematic way of choosing repertoire that would be an easier method of matching a song's difficulty level with my students' skill sets. I focused on 3 songs from the G. Schirmer collection, 24 Italian Songs and Arias: Caro mio ben, Vittoria mio cuore, and Danza Danza. I used the medium high key for all examples in the final results. However, the medium low key results would be the same, just down a minor third. In each song, I calculated the duration total using the quarter note as 1 unit. I did not include any tempo changes such as accelerando or fermata, since these are subjective and would be different with each unique singer. Phrase length was dictated either through standard breaths or by rests already given in the music. Additionally, I looked at how much of the melody was approached by an ascending versus descending interval, as this makes a difference in the difficulty level of the song. Let me now share my screen with you showing the initial results of my research. So here we see Caro mio ben. At the top we have the medium high key, and at the bottom is the medium low key. I have segmented out each phrase, and any of the cells that are highlighted pink indicate that that pitch has been approached by an ascending interval. So anything that is not highlighted indicates that it was approached by a descending interval. At the end of each phrase, the cell that is highlighted yellow indicates the longest duration total for that given phrase. At the end of each song, I calculated the longest duration total for the song, as well as indicated where the majority of ascending intervals lie. In Caro mio ben, in the medium high key, our greatest duration pitch was our B flat 4, and our ascending intervals tended to lie between B flat 4 and E flat 5. For Vittoria mio cuore, our longest duration value was our G4, and we have a large quantity of ascending intervals at C5 and D5. And in Danza Danza, our largest quantity duration was our B flat 4, and we have a lot of ascending intervals happening between B flat 4 and F5. I'm now going to shift to a different screen where I plot these results out on a bar graph. So here again, beginning with Caro mio ben, our most frequently sung pitch highlighted at our B flat 4. Here on our x-axis are the pitches, and our y-axis indicates the phrases. The higher the bar, the longer the duration of that pitch. Down here I also have plotted out the given pitches for the song and the dynamic markings for each of the songs, and the darker the hue, the longer the duration on that pitch. I was also interested to see how Barbara Doscher classified these songs in her book From Studio to Sage. And in her book, she says that this tessitura is medium. We can see here on the bar graph there's a large quantity of A flat 4 and B flat 4, indicating very middle medium tessitura, as she indicated. For Vittoria, Barbara Doscher says that this tessitura is high. There are a number of intervals in the C5 to E5 range. However, our most frequently sung pitch is actually the G4, so without a solid G4, this song might choose challenging. If you are opting to find a song that is going to secure the middle voice, this might be a good choice. Another consideration is our quantity of D5, very visible here on our bar graph, in the last phrase. Not only might it be a challenge to hang out on a D5, but to do so at the end of the song might be an endurance issue for our young singer. Lastly, looking at Danza Danza, Doscher says this tessitura is both high and low, and we can see that by the various indications here with our durations, but one interesting point is that we have a number of ascending intervals happening between B flat 4 and F5 right through the passaggio, which might be a bit of a challenge for a young singer. That is all the time that I have for my virtual poster. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you found something helpful in your own repertoire assigning. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stacy Hainline. I am half of this team that has embarked on a pilot study with something that we're very passionate about. I'm also the collaborative coordinator at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. I was incredibly lucky to have had wonderful teachers who took the time to work with me as a young student, and voice teachers were the ones that impacted my journey into the collaborative path. The expertise voice teachers acquire through years of training and years of working alongside collaborative artists is the reason that we have begun a pilot study. It is our intention to bring more awareness, structure, and permission to all voice teachers to the impact that they have on collaborative partnerships, which begin in the voice studio. The majority of young pianists are truly influenced by these incredibly gifted, intuitive artists who speak from their own natural instruments. What more could a pianist want than to learn of line, breath, lyrics, and ensemble from those who have mastered it?
And I am Jaime Reimer. I'm an associate professor of voice at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and Stacy and I have been a voice and piano duo for over a decade. We have also had the pleasure of coaching and teaching and collaborating with each other's students, and the idea for this research really blossomed out of the shared language that Stacy and I have discovered as being most useful in those projects. The pilot study surveyed voice teachers in the United States and Germany. The survey was distributed online and participation was completely voluntary. We asked about 10 different questions of the voice teachers that were surveyed, but for this poster, we decided to focus on the following 3. How comfortable are you working directly with younger pianists, collaborative pianists, relating to collaborations with your students? What do you feel are the top 3 to 4 skills pianists need to be successful vocal collaborators? And what skills are you comfortable teaching to collaborative pianists? 60% of the responses concerning comfort in teaching collaborative pianists evidenced in these 3 areas. First, teaching how to follow. Second, the ensemble between the singer and pianist. And finally, attention to breath. Musical style and interpretation closely followed in comfort level for voice teachers. Voice teachers recognize the expertise they have to offer collaborative pianists, but a little less than half of respondents felt comfortable sharing this knowledge. And while the survey showed that voice teachers feel it is important to work with collaborative pianists, there are some constraints, particularly the time taken away from the singer in the voice lesson. Additional comments affirmed the importance of working with student pianists, but 61% of respondents felt they were uncomfortable because they did not have direct knowledge of piano repertoire, followed by 38% who have been told at some point in their career that it was not their place to coach pianists. We believe that it would be beneficial to teachers to understand the building blocks for training collaborative pianists. We also believe that voice teachers would benefit from understanding the relevance of when to introduce what type of feedback within the context of a particular duration of time, whether that be a semester or a quarter or some other length of rehearsal process. We also strongly believe that voice teachers and pianists and or collaborative teachers should develop a team culture in training young collaborative pianists.
It is our hope that through this pilot study, we will continue a conversation with voice teachers who are willing to extend their knowledge to student pianists. More methodical and less time-consuming ways to interact really will benefit not just the ensemble, but the pianist as well in their beginning process. Pianists who benefit from being a part of voice lessons will impact the rest of their career and their profession because of the initial commitment from learning from singers and voice teachers. The understanding of breath, ensemble, following, and leading will develop a multitude of skills for pianists in such an extraordinary way. The future of intuitive, capable, flexible, collaborative pianists will begin with intuitive, capable, flexible voice teachers.
Hello, my name is James D. Rodriguez from Texas Christian University, and I am joined by my colleague, Gwendolyn Alfred from Texas Southern University, and this is a brief overview of our presentation titled The Art Song of Black Female Composers in the Applied Studio.
Repertoire choices are a crucial aspect of voice training. The responsibility for guiding developing voices largely rests on the instructor's knowledge of repertoire. Less experienced instructors may resort to widely circulated anthologies because they include works by prominent composers, while more experienced instructors may visit these same anthologies and select lesser known or lesser performed works by the same musicians.
The nature of anthologies makes it unlikely that teachers of singing, whether experienced or not, encounter works by Clara Schumann, Margaret Bonds, or Libby Larsen. These lesser-known composers have made significant contributions to the vocal literature, and yet their repertoire is often relegated to the unknown or niche edges of musical performance. Rarer still is the music of Black female composers in the bulk of assigned literature.
There is an abundance of available repertoire by Black female composers that could be used to provide the same technical development as the household names. Accessing this repertoire begins by identifying those composers which may have made contributions to the art song literature but are not widely known. This poster presentation focuses on art song rather than the arrangements of spirituals or popular songs in order to showcase mastery of the genre.
To facilitate the accessibility and dissemination of these songs, parameters were chosen to classify works based on difficulty level, from beginner to intermediate and advanced.
Range, tessitura, characteristics of the vocal line, accompaniment, and length duration are 4 criteria used to categorize these works. Beginner songs have a limited range. The vocal line is primarily comprised of stepwise motion with short phrases. The meter is consistent throughout. The piece is tonal, and the accompaniment supports the vocal line, either through doubling or imitation. Sustained singing is limited. Length is 2 to 3 pages, and duration is under 2 minutes.
Intermediate songs display a more expansive range and tessitura that exposes the voice to higher notes than those found in the beginner category. The vocal writing exhibits less stepwise motion and longer phrases with more sustained singing. The accompaniment begins to display more independence from the vocal line, with less imitation and doubling, and length is 2 to 4 pages and under 3 minutes. Songs under the advanced classification are by far the most technically difficult, with up to 2 octaves in range, tessitura that lies in the singer's passaggio, melodies which exhibit more angular writing with larger leaps, robust or independent accompaniments, meter changes, sustained singing, and length and duration range from 3 to 7 pages and 3 to 5 minutes respectively. The songs described in this study are merely an introduction into this repertoire. The rubric should help guide both new and experienced teachers in the exploration of these and other songs by Black female composers in order to help make them available for students at all levels.
Next to the rubric is an example of an intermediate song, Florence Price's Song to the Dark Virgin. The key features for each of the applicable questions are answered based on the song. The range is over an octave. The vocal line introduces larger leaps and sustained singing, especially on the last page, not shown here. The top note of the right hand of the accompaniment will at times double the voice, but with little to no imitation. The piece is 4 pages and 2.5 minutes. Our study has a total of 11 songs, 3 of which are beginner, 4 of which are intermediate, and 4 of which are advanced. Additional composers include Mabel Bailey, Margaret Bonds, Jacqueline Hairston, Betty Jackson King, and Undine Smith Moore.
3 major anthologies are available that publish the works of these women, and they are listed here on this last slide. In addition, our article titled A Brief Overview of Selected Art Songs by Black Female Composers for Beginner, Intermediate, and Advanced Students will be published in the NATS Journal of Singing in the near future. We thank you for your time, and if you have further questions, please feel free to contact us on the emails listed on this slide. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rebekah Staley, and my poster is entitled, It Doesn't Have to Be the Fat Lady Singing, but It Can Be, What We Know About Body Weight and the Voice. The discussion of body weight in the classical singer is not new, but events such as HD broadcasts of opera productions, along with rising obesity rates across the general populace, have led to increased debate surrounding the stereotype of the overweight opera singer. The primary purposes of this poster are to shed light on what research is currently available around this topic, as well as to highlight areas where more research is needed. First off, we don't know if there is such a thing as an ideal body type for opera. Opinions certainly exist, but master performers exist and have existed in myriad shapes and sizes. However, there is a perception of increased pressure on any person pursuing a performance career that they need to conform to a particular standard of physical appearance. Singers who travel frequently as part of their career should consider how they can best balance their nutritional needs responsibly in order to avoid developing habits which could produce harmful results. The book Obesity and Voice, recently published by Plural, has an entire chapter devoted to nutrition and the professional voice, which does an excellent job of covering this topic in detail. For some, weight loss may be a good option. One interesting study by Solomon and others showed a decrease in phonation threshold pressure without a perceptual change in sound after weight loss, which suggests that weight loss could assist with less effortful singing, but more studies are needed to confirm this result. Ultimately, there is no overnight quick fix, and making slow, sustainable choices could also prevent issues such as yo-yo dieting, which can lead to more metabolic issues than being overweight in and of itself. If someone does decide to alter their diet to try and lose weight, the most helpful fact I found during my research is that dietary adherence, aka picking something and sticking with it, matters much more than which diet you choose in terms of long-term success and weight loss maintenance. Bariatric surgery should be a last resort for a singer and should only be undertaken after thorough research and with physician approval. So what don't we know? A lot. A major concern is that no studies have yet been published which test vocal function metrics across trained singers of various sizes. All currently available information states that it was conducted with non-professional voice users. Although there is no guarantee that a study's results would change with the use of trained singers, it would be helpful to see if certain studies' results are duplicated within the singer population. Another area of speculation relates to bariatric surgery. Although collection of the data may prove difficult, it would be helpful to study singers pre- and post-bariatric surgery to see if there are any long-term adverse effects, or to perhaps help determine an appropriate post-operation training and recovery plan to help singers return to performing. As educators, we can assist our singers by encouraging them to develop good nutritional habits and to be aware of the potential struggles of life on the road. Additionally, despite the overwhelming emphasis on obesity and weight loss, skinny doesn't necessarily equal healthy. So we should be careful to encourage ourselves and our students to focus more on elements such as cardiovascular and lung health before seeking a particular number on a scale. Finally, supporting research which uses metrics besides, or at least in addition to, the BMI as a determinant of overall health. BMI does not account for muscle tone or body fat percentages and only provides information on a person's overall mass. We still have much to learn about the connection between body weight and singing, and it is my hope that as we continue to investigate these connections, we do so with good science, compassion, and empathy. Thank you for your time.